Good Friday evening to all of you out there in Cleveland Browns land. Welcome into another film review episode of the Barking Brown Show. I'm Jacob, Mr. Casey Kinman, and Nick Carnes down below. Brought to you as always by our friends over at Homage Apparel, the best apparel business in business. That makes sense, right?
Yeah, it works. It works.
Oh, shit. All right. Go check them out. Gentlemen, how are we doing Friday night?
Well, broad-eyed and bushy-tailed. I'm old, man. Like I got off work and I was like, I'm gonna lay down for an hour. That hour turned to damn near 3.
Oh, bro,
yeah,
you are preaching to the choir. Casey
Yeah.
and I are in similar veins of time schedules, and I think we both did such, and are both kind of coming back alive here. But Jamari Thrash film is what brings you back to life on a Friday. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, so this is the third part of this series. If you guys are new to the channel, new to this series, welcome. You can go on the YouTube channel and you can find the Michael Hall and Zach Zinter film reviews if you're curious about those two picks. And we continue to work our way down with Jamari Thrash, the first. I guess a lot of people had some excitement for Michael Hall, but I think he's the first skill player taken, the first like playmaker, and no matter what, when you're trying to get excited about draft picks and players that are brought in, it's the skill positions, the guys that score touchdowns that get your attention the most. And we finally have one to talk about from day 3.
Yeah, this is the most bang for their buck they could have got it. Pick 156.
Yeah.
In my opinion, this is the best value they got in the draft. As far as I honestly thought Thrash would be the end of day 2, beginning of day 3 guy. Easy 4th round evaluation. To get him at 156, it's awesome. And it's also the fit because you needed some more help on the outside. Bring some guys in who could do some more dynamic stuff, and he definitely fits the bill.
Yeah, I think they took their opportunity. I know there were a lot of people at the Zinner pick who were hoping for a wide receiver, but I'm sure you guys have seen in the Zinner episode that he's a guy that presents a lot of upside. So I understand why you would go there with Zinter, and so it feels like they just saw an opportunity with Thrash to get a guy who has some dynamic qualities. And I like that they continually have invested in the wide receiver position, because maybe Thrash is not a wide receiver who is going to get a ton of opportunity in year 1, but there's certainly going to be opportunity to show why they drafted him. And so I'm excited to see what happens this year.
Yeah, Thrash is, I said that on last week's episode that since I've been evaluating film and talking about it with the Browns, and Zach Zinter was one of my favorite watches because it was just felt so safe watching his tape. You're like, yeah, this guy may never turn into a superstar, but I have a really hard time thinking he will be a complete, first contract out of the NFL. He sucks kind of guy. Yeah. Like that's what the tape doesn't show that with Zinter. But then you move to Jamari Thrash, and that's when you start to go do some of those things that you did with Michael Hall. Like there's those flashes with Michael Hall that you're like, oh shit, okay, I get it. I see why you made this pick. Now you turn to Jamari Thrash and it feels like the same thing at a sexy position. You're like, oh, okay. So for me, starting at the top, it's for Jamari Thrash, the most important thing about his game, the most translatable thing about his game, and just, I guess, why you should be a fan of this pick is his ability to separate. I think he's a total natural separator. I think at times off the line of scrimmage, he can be sudden. He can really, he's not going to run a 4.2. He's certainly not slow, but he gets to that speed. Sometimes the short area quickness to get in and out of some of these routes real quick, I think is really great for him. But his body control in terms of throttle up, throttle down, little subtleties at the top of his routes. Oh, am I going to go inside? Am I going to go outside? Like these things where you see an athletic playmaker that understands how to attack in the short, intermediate, and deep passing game. I think his ability to separate should be why all Browns fans are excited to have him in Cleveland, in my mind.
he stacks with speed. He really gets DB on the back foot. If you give him a clean release, like you said, he's not a 4-2 guy, but he's a 4-4 guy for sure.
Yeah.
And he threatens with that speed and manipulates space. But even beyond what he does was in separation, the kid's an athlete with the ball in his hands.
Oh yeah.
Once the ball's in his hands, he turns into an athlete. I mean, he's slippery. You can, if you don't get him to the ground quick, he can be slippery and really hurts with yards after the catch. And that's just something you got to keep doing for this room. And we see a rounding of skill sets, guys who can do different things. Just getting another guy that you can get in there and really do damage after the catch. I think that just helps your quarterback out in so many ways.
Two of the things that stuck out to me there were a number of plays where Jamari's in a route and he cuts, and the DB goes one way and he goes the other way.
Oh yeah.
Right. He has the ability to create that type of separation with his cuts and with his direction changes. And I love seeing that, because anytime you can find a guy that's going to win with route running, that's a key to success in the NFL, as we see with the way that Amari Cooper wins. And I see just a little bit of that where you can get a DB confused. Like, you don't need to be the fastest guy to get open if you can win with your routes. And I do think he's fast. I just think it's sometimes like it's like if you give Jamari Thrash a couple steps, all of a sudden in the open field, he's moving, he's gone. There's a couple of times you can see he hits a crease in the secondary, and all of a sudden he's taken it to the end zone. So there is definitely some speed there. I wouldn't say he's a burner, but I do think he has enough speed to if given the opportunity, or if given just a little bit of space, that he is a home run threat.
He's a dynamic playmaker. I mean, the guy, like I said earlier, I mean, you talk about the speed. Sometimes it does take him a little bit of time to build up that speed when he's going vertical. But like, yeah, he's going to win at every level. Like, he's got the athleticism, he's got the footwork, he's got the prowess. Like, and you both kind of said it, talking about if there's a lane, the ball in his hands. Like, if he sees, hey, there's only one guy that can stop me, he's probably going to beat that guy. He sees that. He can understand that. I think he can get up there in a hurry. I just think he makes plays, man. And when you got a guy that wins all over the field, added to a team with guys that can win all over the field, like, you're starting to stack things, right? Like, he wins inside, he wins outside. That's huge. I'm with you, Casey, that I think he's better on the outside. I just do. And I understand he's a little undersized, and we talk about, yeah, he's quick, he's elusive, he has these little nuances at the tops of his routes. Like Nick said, it's like he fools guys, man. Yeah. His body control and his ability to make you think he's going one way and then he goes the other. It's like, that's a quarterback's best friend.
Yeah, he can put a little extra on it. He definitely has a little pizzazz in his routes. I just start to think ahead, and he's not going into a room bereft of talent. He's coming into a room where as he walks in, he's like, at best, competing for wide receiver 5.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and we're saying a lot of nice things about him, but there's a reason he went later in the draft.
Yeah.
So he's going to have to work through the ranks. And the one thing that I think that he needs to prove is that he can work off press man. And you're going to be practicing against the best corner room in the NFL. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
camp's going to be huge for him. Preseason's going to be huge for him, giving him time to develop. Don't judge too quickly. He does have a lot of skill, and he brings a lot to the table, but there's a new physicality that he has to deal with at the next level, and he's going to get baptized. There's going to be moments where he might not look like his play strength's up to par, just based on the sleight of frame. We know what he can do in the open field.
Yeah,
he's going to have to prove that he can get to the open field with a guy in his face, and that's just what camp's for. Sharpen your blade.
It's funny too, because I know he can do it, because there are some routes or some reps with the ball in his hand that he runs dudes over. Mm-hmm. Like, when he gets moving in space, he's not just running with that speed and athleticism. He can run with some power. You just got to figure out a way for him to be able to do it from the word go, from the snap of the ball, and work through it. Because I've watched him truck guys. I mean, he can do it. I've seen him with the ball in his hand just run dudes over. But like, you're right, man. Like right off the get, if he's able to start doing some of those things to these corners, you got hope that he could develop into a really nice player. And I think it's just perfect where he lands. I mean, because he goes to Georgia State for all those years, gets 1 year at Louisville, a step up in competition. You saw he had what was it? Almost I think it was 5. About almost 5 yards per catch less from in his year in Louisville. He has the same amount of catches the last 2 years, 62 with Georgia State, 62 with Louisville. At Georgia State, he had 1123 on those 62, and this year he has 848. So you saw a step up in competition and a little bit of a dip in production, but still was effective. So you got to think that's going to happen again, even more so. So he's going to need some time. But if he can work on those getting off press man coverage, whew.
I think there's a formula to success here, because if one of the biggest things you need to work on is play strength, that's something that can be improved. That's something that can be built through your time in the NFL. And you've been drafted to the right wide receiver room in order to work on your and to develop your NFL level strength. So because I think there's a lot
you got some
to like
physical
there.
Guys to learn from on this team,
right? And so and that's what I look at it and I say, okay, this guy can win with his route running. He's got some explosion in him, and if the biggest problem here is play strength, and right, not like he's not the biggest wide receiver, right? So like some of it I mean, you got what you got in terms of size, but you can certainly become stronger. And I think this is the right wide receiver room. Keep flipping those 2 letters to develop that. Hey guys.
Well, and Judy has some of the same issues. Judy plays with the ball in his hand. His play strength is fine, but off the line, sometimes he can get jammed up. You know what I mean? So you can see a path. Also, contested catches. That's something I didn't really see a ton out of him in film. And when you're going up against someone like Martin Emerson, who thrives in that moment when that ball arrives at the catch point. So he's going to get his opportunities to work on the things he's deficient in, but I don't think you let that hold you back from trying to implement him in what he's already good at and sneak him in ways and get him some meaningful reps in actual games where you're going to lean on his strengths and let him accentuate those while he gets to work on the other stuff in practice. You know what I mean? And this is a skillful wide receiver room. This is something the Barry has built mostly through trades. Their draft picks really haven't hit. I think that I still have a lot of hope for Tillman, a lot of hope. But he's going to provide a different role, different body type, different skill set than what Thrash is. Thrash is just going to be a very dynamic wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5 early in his career, but with room for advancement. You know what I mean? There's guys getting there, like Amari getting near their senior, and they're going to have to start cycling these guys out. So to get guys in the pipeline who can do explosive things and really give your offense some, really ignite the offense vertically, which is something that the NFL is, man. The NFL has become such a vertical game, taking shots to be able to sneak a guy onto your roster with no expectations, but the ceiling is there for him to be a dynamic playmaker. I just think to be able to get that guy at 156, and you got to feel good about that, and the fact that you don't have to rely on him for anything right now. One thing that I do wonder is, because if you're going to take wide receiver 5, maybe even 4 on this roster, you better be able to play special teams.
Yeah.
What's he going to do on kickoff? What's he going? I don't know. That's going to be interesting to see how that plays out.
I do have a question. If you had to say which wide receiver would contribute more for the Browns this season, Jamari Thrash or David Bell, which would you pick? I think I lean Thrash. I think I lean Thrash.
This season, I would probably go Bell just because I think he's safe.
Okay.
He's going to be where he's supposed to be. But look, man, if we're talking about just there's a time and a place. Sometimes you need that guy who's just going to get the first down and go down at the marker.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not to say Thrash can't score 2 or 3 touchdowns this year that affects games. Just on plays that Bell can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Bell doesn't have that in his bag. But Bell has more play strength and just being his 3rd year in the league, he's going to have just more rapport with his quarterback and just confidence in the coaching staff, which is something that Bell does have already.
True.
The coaches they have faith in Bell. They have faith that just to be on schedule, be on time. And sometimes that's what you need. But every now and again, you might need to take a shot. Every now and again, you might need to open things up. And that's where Thrash comes in for me this year. But going forward, I definitely think Thrash's ceiling is way higher than David Bell's at the NFL level. But I don't know if that comes to fruition in year 1, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you guys like Thrash as a Z if he's working outside, can't be an X. I mean, I don't think he can be an X at what he's at right now. I mean, with the deficiencies he's got right now, I don't think so. Like, but again, like he doesn't need to be something he's not in year 1. Like, but to answer your question, Nick, I kind of see what you're saying, Casey, in the sense that if I can only pick, can I only pick one? Or do I get to? Here's my question. Here's an important thing here, because I wrote this up on Browns Wire where depending on the way things work out in the roster, if Thrash or David Bell are the last wide receiver on the roster, I'm cutting David Bell. And that's just what you said, Casey, because you're talking about a higher ceiling. Mm-hmm. I'm just talking about physical gifts. I'm just talking about things I can't teach. Thrash has more of that than David Bell in my mind. Like, now, you definitely said it perfectly. What?
There's a double rainbow outside.
It's double rainbow.
You gotta come outside and see the double rainbow. It's a double fucking rainbow. Double rainbow.
Oh, this show is going way off the wheel. We've fallen off the tracks of the train. We've crashed it. It's on fire.
The double rainbow did not make its way to South Carolina. I just confirmed.
You just went and checked. You're like, is there a double rainbow out here? We need to fucking see what's going on.
It is must see. Did you see even Rascal's way?
The dog wants to see the double rainbow.
The whole Roach household is in on the double rainbow.
That's fuck. Anyway, like I could see a world where Jamari Thrash and David Bell are the last guys on the roster, so to speak. And so in that case, yeah, I'd go with Thrash because I like his upside. I like his long term more than I like David Bell. But at the same time, how many can you ever have enough players that can just get open and catch the football? And that's kind of what David Bell is. So I think you keep both of them, but you rely more on David Bell this year, unless it's because Judy goes down or Elijah Moore goes down. Like in a sense where I would like to have a playmaker if in that situation, but higher on the depth chart overall, if everybody's healthy, it's David Bell, I think, because you need that. But if you're desperate for a spark, it's Jamari Thrash.
Can I offer a monkey wrench into the scenario?
Okay.
Yeah.
Michael Woods comes into camp healthy and just lighting it up.
That's part of it. That's part of it for me when you're trying to ask me for year 1. That's part of what I was hinting at. Honestly, I loved Michael Woods last year. Everything they said about him, the stuff that we saw when we did get to see him, and like leading up before he tears his Achilles, like there was buzz. Like when he was a rookie, I was there. I watched him, a couple of days at training camp, a couple of days before he gets hurt in that training camp.
Right.
And his preseason kind of got thrown off after that. And I'm like, now this is a guy, like it's some of the same stuff that you saw with Cedric Tillman. Like he's a big dude and he understands it. And like Michael Woods does this great job of shielding the ball from defenders. He uses that size as a real weapon. He's like, no, fuck you. And he gets up in there and he makes those catch. He's a body catcher. And that's why he was a 3rd round pick. So you got to kind of work on those things. But they were like, showing all these videos of him like using because he has long arms, great catch radius. He never used it, but
He's got a strong lower body, man.
Yeah, and so I thought he would make the roster last year. I thought he would kick somebody off the roster before that injury. Could I see a world where Michael Woods makes the 53-man roster over David Bell? Yes. And that then means I'm relying on Jamari Thrash more than David Bell. So it's with that nuance. If they're both on the team, then it's David Bell. If it's I'm only going to get to keep one of them, and that's the reason that person's more important than the other, then yeah, it's Jamari Thrash.
I'm going to be completely honest. I forgot Elijah Moore existed for a minute. I think, and then we started talking about it. I feel like you gain, talking about Jamari Thrash like this, you gain a real appreciation for the depth that the Browns have built in the wide receiver room now. I don't know that I can remember a deeper Browns wide receiver room.
I got to go back to the 1980s.
Well, I was gonna say
that's how far I got to go back for it.
Woof.
If we're in the 20 teens, like 20 teens somewhere, like 2014, 2015, something like that.
Willie Snead, Taylor Gabriel.
Well, I was just gonna say Jamari Thrash would have been drafted day 3 to be your number 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's what Gabriel was, right? Like he was like the number 2. He was undrafted, wasn't he?
Yeah, we were using Miles Austin. Like it.
I remember.
Yeah. Oh, I remember.
Miles Austin.
Do you remember that 1,000-yard Terrell Pryor season?
I'll never forget
it. That was a thing that happened, guys. It was real.
That is like the Browns have two of the between Josh Gordon and Terrell Pryor. Like those are two of the seasons where there's just been such lightning in a bottle, and you just never really saw it again. But
Pryor got hurt, and
and Gordon had his own issues.
Oh yeah, he did get stabbed. That was
a lot of things happened to Terrell Pryor. But just considering that was his first year at wide receiver, transitioning in the NFL, and my guy goes for 1,000 yards. You may never see that again. A quarterback transitionning.
He also does he not have the longest quarterback run for a touchdown in NFL history
against the Steelers for the Oakland Raiders?
I wonder what the most yards in a single season a quarterback changing to wide receiver has ever had. Of any quarterback that's ever changed wide receiver.
I don't know. There's guys who have done it. Obviously, were quarterbacks in college who changed, and like Antoine Randall, people like that, Hines Ward.
Sure, but like in the NFL,
do it at the NFL level and change.
Stewart.
Yeah, but he was already. They came in like they were trying to play him both ways. Logan Thomas, remind you, came in the league as a quarterback and as a tight end.
That's good.
He did.
Listen to you. Maybe
that starts for the Cardinals.
Joe Milton. How was that? What came over me? So, final thoughts, Jamari Thrash related or not?
I love the kid's upside, man. I love the kid's upside. I like where the room's at right now. I was hoping that if they drafted someone, they would draft someone who has outside dynamic ability. He wasn't on my radar because I thought they would go earlier if they pulled the trigger. But I also thought that he was going to be in the dead zone. They didn't have a 4th-round pick. So I figured he wasn't even going to be there to be an option if they went that late. So to get him
somewhere in the top, I had him right around top 100. Like he was a top 100 guy.
Yeah. Yep. So to get him where you got him, I think is tremendous value. Kind of stash him, bring him along. He's going to be fun as fuck in the preseason. I think that's where I'm at with it. So I'm looking forward to the preseason for certain players. He's one of them. Michael Woods is another to see where he's at. You know, it's gonna be a fun preseason, man. Just based on the talent that they have to be able to put on the field. Because you're not going to see Amari Cooper. You don't need to see Amari Cooper.
No,
you might take a ceremonial snap, just but other than that, it's going to be a lot of burn for these kind of guys. So I'm excited to see what kind of excitement they can bring to this offense.
Yeah, the Dorian Thompson-Robinson show is going to be quite the spectacle in preseason. It's considering all these weapons you've got now. He's going to be slinging it over to Tillman and Thrash and Bell in preseason. Oh, baby. I'm ready.
Let's go. Rainbow.
It's not showing up for me. My eyes might be defective.
Hey, I just want to thank everybody. We just crossed over 200 subscribers on YouTube, which doesn't sound like a lot. But if you knew how challenging it is to grow on YouTube, you would appreciate it. we appreciate it. So thank you to everybody, because we've been getting those views, right? So for everybody that decides that we're worth the time of watching, thank you. We've had a nice little blow up from the schedule reaction, which is pretty cool. But we're on the way, man. We're on the way, and it's because of all of you that have given your time to us. So thank you so much for that. With that being said, this has been a Jamari Thrash film review special Friday episode of the Barking Brown Show. Double Rainbow. I'm Nick. He's Jacob. That's Casey. Go Browns.
Go Browns.
Go outside and check out that double